Hollywood just a few minutes ago. Now, fortunately, there's just not a lot of people out. The volume on the roadway is a little lighter than normal. We're a Friday morning, plus we have the holiday, and that has certainly cut down on the amount of volume we're seeing on the surface streets. But right now, a desperate suspect trying to get away. Initially reported 2 men in the vehicle and 3 women. Sometimes that type of information will change. It's really hard to specifically identify that. You could tell the windows are blackened out on the side. On the left side of the vehicle, we also see a shirt or a sheet of some type in the window. We're not certain exactly what that is or why, but according to LAPD, they believe 5 people are on board, 2 men and 3 women. And certainly, John, it's an extremely dangerous pursuit now, northbound here in the North Hollywood area, not far from Burbank Airport. And there you see LAPD with the helicopter overhead. They have gone into surveillance mode a couple of times, John. They just backed off because it was so dangerous, and it looks like that is the strategy they're using right now, only the helicopters overhead.
Yeah, I was going to say, Scott, I haven't seen any patrol vehicles, so yeah, they're giving them some room, it looks like. And as you mentioned, boy, the roads are fairly empty considering, you know, it's Friday, but obviously a holiday week, so folks not quite back to work, I guess. But boy, yeah, they're moving at 75 miles an hour right now. That's scary.
Yes, 75 miles an hour, right through an intersection. It looked like that was red or turning red and extremely close to hitting someone. So we have a desperate suspect. Look at that, boy, right in front of that vehicle. Didn't even slow down at all, John, going through that intersection. This is a recipe for disaster. We watch these things, and we just hope and pray that no one gets hurt, especially innocent people who have nothing to do with this at all. And the LAPD knows how dangerous this is. The only thing they have right now following is the helicopter overhead. They're not going to put more pressure on this suspect by putting several patrol cars right behind. Look at that. That was another close call, Johnny. Really, just by watching this, it's chilling, and it is absolutely so dangerous. We'll be fortunate if nobody gets hurt in this thing if this suspect continues to drive in this manner.
Yeah, complete disregard for anyone else on the road. We've seen this driver now go through several intersections, blaze through several intersections, sometimes on a red light, traveling at speeds up to 75 miles an hour on the surface streets. That's not the freeway, just on these surface streets, this driver moving at a very high rate of speed. Scott, you mentioned they've got something hanging out of the window. Oh, maybe look like they were slowing down near that apartment building. You mentioned.
Yeah, it looks like they've stopped there for a moment. They've run into a cul-de-sac, and that's one of the things you run into. If we can, let's go west as quickly as possible. They turned around. They made a U-turn.
Okay.
Now, one of the things, John, that happens in these types of situations, if you don't follow right behind the vehicle with the LAPD patrol cars on the ground, they don't want to push this driver to drive more radically because it's so dangerous. When they do go into a situation where patrol cars were right behind them, they could pin him in that area. They're able to turn around, go into a cul-de-sac like we just saw, and then take off and get back on the surface streets and continue. But we're seeing some driving into an industrial area, it appears to me right now. They maybe not believe that anyone is behind them, and now they're in a situation where they're pinned once again, it appears. The vehicle is stopped. We'll see if they try and turn around and continue or get out of the vehicle, and there you see they're going to try and make a run for it. And boy, they're not getting out of that vehicle very quickly, John, very nonchalantly, like maybe nobody's watching.
Wow, look at that. 2 people out, and do we suspect more people are inside the vehicle?
Well, that was the initial report. Like I mentioned earlier, it's very difficult for LAPD to know exactly. And you know, John, when we lost the vehicle a moment ago, maybe some people got out. But there you go. We saw the driver get out. We saw the female passenger get out. Another male passenger in the back seat. That's 3. We had a report of 5, so possibly 2 others got out when we lost the vehicle behind that apartment building. It's impossible to know for sure. The initial report was 5. 3 suspects got out of that vehicle just a moment ago and walked down through this area. Can you pull out a little bit for me, Marcel? We can get a little bit of a better look. Looks like SkyMap is froze. Irvine Valley and Sun Valley, or Avenue and Sun Valley is not accurate. Get rid of that. But we are here, and I'll try and get some surface streets as far as exactly where we are. And LAPD does have a helicopter overhead. You see the patrol car is pulling up front. So they're going to set up a perimeter, and there are the suspects right there. Yeah. LAPD has them identified, and it looks like here we're going to have at least 1. I can't tell if there's another one. That appears to be the male that got out of the back seat of the vehicle. Then you see officers are running down now after the other 2. But John, the good part about this is that nobody was hit in that pursuit. We had a couple of close calls at extremely high rates of speed with that vehicle just going right through red lights. Somebody could have been hurt or killed very easily, but it looks like at least 3 of these suspects are going to be in custody here in just a moment.
Yeah, they got out of that vehicle very casually.
They're running.
Yep, there you go. And maybe
Yep.
they thought they could just blend in, but it
Yep.
looks like police are on them pretty quickly.
Yeah, they're going to be caught here in a moment. They're running right back into the police. So you can tell dropping something, possibly a cell phone, it's hard to say. But police will have this suspect, at least the second. It looked to me like two were already in custody, and this is actually the third. You know, this is an exercise in futility. A suspect's not going to get away. More patrol cars are responding every moment. Suspect's going to get tired, and you're going to see that may be an unmarked patrol car, or that's a good Samaritan trying to help out. Boy, the officer tripped over that curb, but that's unfortunate, and it continues to try and go after the suspect. But there are several other officers right behind him, and I don't know if you can get out the other end of that garage. If not, we have a standoff there.
Yeah, it looks like an officer ran in after the suspect, now two, and they're in that garage, and boy, who knows what's in that garage. So this could be a dangerous situation. Three officers
Certainly
inside
could.
now.
We don't know if there's a door to the back, but we haven't seen anybody run out of the back. So it appears, at least initially here, John, that I believe all three of the suspects got out. And that's unusual. Go back into that vehicle right there. We saw that vehicle swerve in front of the suspect to stop the suspect. It doesn't look like an off-duty officer to me. It looks like possibly a good Samaritan, but you don't want to do that. You certainly do not want to do that. The police don't want you to do that. So if you're ever tempted to try and pull in front of somebody that the police are chasing, just don't do it. It makes it much more difficult for them, and it's dangerous for you. So there's the female. So I believe all three of the individuals that were in that vehicle are now in custody.
Yeah, in custody or certainly accounted for. We saw two in cuffs, and now the third suspect, we believe, is in that garage with the open door there. We haven't seen anybody come out so far. We saw at least three police. Oh, there he is. Okay. So they do have all three suspects, it appears, in custody now.
Yeah, and initial reports were 5. We lost the vehicle for a moment behind an apartment building. I don't know if 2 got out there, but as I mentioned earlier, you know, when you get reports of how many people on board a vehicle when the windows are blacked out, it's nearly impossible for them to come up with exact numbers. It always seems to change. I believe that there were just 3 because I don't see police responding to any other locations. And now you see people coming out saying, hey, what's going on here?
Right.
And then this looks dangerous. I'm going to go back inside, and you can't blame them. But we're fortunate that no one was hurt, at least from we can tell initially. They were robbery suspects out of the West LA area. It was a long pursuit, lasted 45 minutes or so. Extremely high rates of speed on the freeway, and then down Hollywood Boulevard at 60 to 70 miles an hour. That was frightening. We didn't have a lot of people out, so that was good. And we didn't see anybody get hurt, any damage to the vehicle that was being pursued. So we don't think it hit any other vehicles, but it certainly could have been much worse, John.
Yeah, it certainly could have been, Scott. Thank you for your reporting on this. Again, 3 suspects in custody. We believe they're connected to a robbery, perhaps, involved in a pursuit as well. But you can see LAPD has them in custody now, and they will continue their investigation. We, of course, will have more on this story for you on upcoming editions of Eyewitness News.
This has been Eyewitness News with breaking news.